Hello. Hope everybody's having a good night. Um, Excited to talk with y'all again. It looks like we already have some chat over on the side going. I appreciate that. Got a couple three questions to start off our evening tonight. But before I do that, I'd like to offer a I don't know, from the bottom of my heart, congratulations to Trent and Madison, our folk builder Trent East and his lovely wife Madison had their wedding yesterday, and I'm so very happy for them. And on behalf of the entire Austria Folk Assembly, we wish them the very best. And they're truly amazing people. Any of you guys who got a chance to meet them know that, though. Um, yeah, so let's start off this evening with a few questions. Um, I'd always thought that since I got involved in Austria. Um, I don't have some amazing argument about it because I've always kind of taken it for granted that that was the case. I think that the association with Sather, and I think that the gold references certainly apply to both and show a continuity. And I'm also asked about the burning three times of Golvig, and if that represents some sort of a initiation for Freya. Perhaps. I think you deal with those kind of chthonic initiation practices amongst the Vanir, but I also think that it has to do with the refinement of gold and the purification that, you know, the the burning away of dross in the gold to purify it. I think it has something to do with that. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Those have always been my thoughts on it. And yeah, it's not some kind of super firm AFA doctrine at this point, but I've always thought that was the case. And yeah, so that's where I'm at on it. Excited everybody's already already on the side commenting and jumping in. Also, tonight I'd like to give a special thanks and words of appreciation for Mark McLeod and the gentleman that came out and helped with the cemetery at Odenshof yesterday. For those of you that may not know, we now have a cemetery at Odenshof with two of our loved ones, deceased AFA members, interred there. We did that. We broke ground last year at Midsummer, and it's a beautiful spot. We've got room for quite a bit of our family when they eventually go that way and need a place to be. We're so honored to have the remains of our loved ones there with us in our holy ground on the grounds of one of our temples. And as of yesterday, we have a beautiful fence now separating the area, beautiful iron fence. Mark and the gentleman of Odenshof came out and dug holes, dug trenches, cemented things in, welded fence panels together, and put in so much work to make that a really beautiful, really special space. And to everybody who took part in that, to Mark, thank you guys so much. It's really something special. Certainly here in Finland, I believe that's something the first of its kind of an Asa true burial ground. And we're off to a very good start. So thank you guys so much for that. Joel, it seems like you're always cooking something delicious. I'm envious. Your stuff sounds pretty good. Oh yeah, there's a lot of decoration we can do with that fence. We have some people over in the chat saying that, on holidays and different occasions, we could do things to decorate up the fence. And the style of wrought iron fence it is, there's a lot of stuff we can do to make it pretty over the years. But it's really special. It's nice, and it separates the space nicely, which is really important. Well, Martin over in Germany. Hi, I appreciate you joining from such a long way away. Please say hello to your mother for me. There's a question about what I believe in relation to Tacitus writing about very ancient god of the Germanic people, Manus, and his relation to Heimdall and their relation to Manu in the Rig Veda. That one I've given less thought to, so I don't want to overreach. I think there's something very solid to that. I think the connection between Manus and Manu in the Rig Veda, I think that's a much easier thing to say, yep, absolutely. I think the connection with Heimdall takes a little bit more thinking, but I don't think that's on the wrong track. And I think that's a really interesting theory that I want to look into some more. We have Aristos over on the side. I appreciate that, saying hail the doers. And he's talking about how he appreciates the AFA members being willing to put forth effort. I have no idea if you guys can read these after the fact on the side, but I'm trying to make sure so everybody knows what I'm talking about. Anyways, yeah, Aristos talking about how he appreciates AFA members doing things instead of just talking about it. I'm really, really proud of our AFA family because we're out building something positive. We're doing something great. We're building something for the future. And so many of you have been a part of that. So many of you have been generous, not only with your money, but with your time and with your effort to build things, to create, to make things, to make this world closer to what we know it should be, what we know it could be, and what we want. It's really nice to have that positivity and that constructive attitude of making good things happen instead of just complaining about negative things. We see too much of the one and far too little of the other. So yeah, I want to echo that. All right. Well, we got great stuff going on the side, which is awesome. I want to get to a couple other questions that we had emailed in. If you guys have questions, I believe as soon as I post the schedule for the next live chat, you can go in and post them in the chat like you're doing now, but have them preloaded before the next time if you think of them. Also, please feel very free to email me, mattflavel@runestone.org. I'm always very happy to get your guys' questions, and I'd be glad to answer those on my next live chat. Certainly, if you have anything private you want to ask, I'm happy to answer those privately. But if you want to email them and have me address them on the next chat, I'm happy to do that. And that said, Roy asked some questions. 2 questions. His first one. Members are encouraged to submit their last wills and testament to the AFA for safekeeping. The question is, where are the last wills and testaments actually stored? And how would they be accessed and by whom? Would the individual need to submit some sort of credentials to show you that they were entitled to see said last will and testament? So those decisions, and hopefully, it's a long time before we have to make them as far as who gets to see them and how we access them. But Law Speaker Alan Turnage is going to be the one to handle that. It's kind of an answer to both parts of that question. The physical copies are going to be kept with Alan. So if you do send those copies in, please make sure you're sending him an original copy that's signed, so it's binding and appropriate, and he has it on file. He's going to keep those filed. Depending on how many we get, we may deal with a better storage situation. But Alan's an attorney, and he's very competent at those things. As far as credentials on who sees them, yeah, we'll need to figure that out. We want to respect everybody's confidentiality. The idea of when we would look at them was upon becoming notified of a member of ours passing away. We'd certainly look at them and then determined, I don't want to overspeak, but we determined that situation based on next of kin or whoever we needed to notify, so we could work with the family to make sure that they know what you had wanted, and that we can make sure those things happen. But again, the exact process on that, Alan's going to help us determine, because he's got a better answer on that than I do. Also, I'd like to scan them and electronically store them, and Cliff would probably have a good answer on how that's going to be accomplished. As of right now, I think we have 2 or 3 on file, not any great number. Anybody watching this, though, please get your will done. Do your own. Let me check here to make sure I'm not giving you bad information. We can maybe put a link on the side. DoYourOwnWill.com. Do your will however you want. But I know that expense, and I know that hassle, and there's all kind of stresses about it. DoYourOwnWill.com is a free and very quick way to do really comprehensive, and inside the United States, legally binding and appropriate will. You can do it very quickly, get that accomplished. No one ever thinks about it until they need it. But I've seen a number of our members pass away that didn't have that in place. And as a result, they didn't get what they wanted as their final send-off or their final resting place of their remains, and the distribution that they want for their assets and their things, and just how they want to be remembered and taken care of when they pass. So please do that. And when you do that, please send us a copy. Please send Alan a copy of it, so we can, and it doesn't matter what you have in there, what you want. What's important to us is that you get honored at the time of your death the way that you want to. It's very important to see that your will's done. And we want to help in any way we can, so that people know what you want, and so that we can help accomplish what you want. So please think about that. Please do that. There's no time like the present, and you never really know you need it until it sneaks up on us. So please do that. Also, we have a second question from Roy. And a couple of things. I'm just going to read some stuff verbatim. This may not be appropriate for a member to even ask, or at least to be talked about publicly, in which case don't respond, of course. First, thank you. That's extremely polite, but I'm very happy to respond to any question you might have. There's no big secrets. Very happy to be open and honest about whatever business needs to be discussed, and make sure people know what's going on. Got nothing to hide. So the question's as followed. Who actually makes decisions that affect the AFA and its membership? Is there a committee or governing council, for example? How is it decided just where a hof will be established, or if where a festival will be held? And he's asking kind of about the decision-making process of how decisions are made. Who or what group of individuals has control of the money? Who signs the checks? He's kind of wondering those admin questions. A quick rundown of those things. To most, any, and all of those questions, AFA leadership in general is consulted, and we have a lot of discussions on them. As the system works, your apprentice folk builder is the lowest rung on that ladder, and those folks are people who volunteered to give it a try, folk building in your area. Above them, once they've been around for a sufficient amount of time, they've decided this is something they want to do. We've decided that they're a good fit, and we want to move forward with them as a member of leadership. We'll ask a apprentice folk builder to take their oath and become an oath folk builder. And they do a lot of membership management, logistical things, gathering people together, basically taking care of all the running of the AFA in their area. They do a lot of that. Above them are our Gothar. They're the priests and priestesses of our church. They're folk builders who have put in the time, put in the effort, and put in the study to learn the art of being a priest and spending that time and that devotion to our church and to our folk. And eventually, when they're done with that program, they become ordained as a Gothier Githya. Those people manage our districts and manage our folk builders. And above them is the AFA's Whitten. And that gets a little bit more to the meat of what's being asked. They're the advisory council that meets with me. We have a lot of discussions throughout the month, at any time, but certainly twice a month we have phone calls about the future of the AFA, about where we're at, about decisions that need to be made. And I consult all those folks about things, and they give me their wisdom, and we discuss things and kind of plan out the answers to those questions, those bigger questions. And then above the Whitten, ultimately the decisions get made by me. I have the final say on those things. I make a lot of those really, the very significant decisions. Certainly I discuss that with my Whitten. I value their advice on that hugely, but ultimately I make those calls. So it's not done by committee. It's certainly not done by voting. Ultimately, I'm the one that makes those decisions. As far as who has control of the money, I suppose I do ultimately, but all of our members of the Whitten, and I try to make that very transparent to all of our Gothar as well, and anybody who wants to know. Alan, our law speaker, Alan Turnage, is the guy that handles the financial aspect. He typically is the ones that writes the checks and does those things. But I'd say myself, Cliff Erickson, and Alan work together a lot in managing those finances and making sure money goes to the right spot. There's a couple other questions. I just want to make sure I answer all of them. Because I think they're both really good questions, even if they're kind of glossed over. I don't know if the original poster wants to know them, but it's good for everybody to know. So two of them. One, how and where the next hof will be established, and two, how and if a festival will be held. So as far as national events go, deciding that, a couple of factors are important in that. And we encourage all of our folk builders, all of our Gothar, all of our AFA members who want to host local events and local gatherings whenever they'd like to. We really support that. We love to see that happen. When it becomes a national event, what we look for to see in that situation is we want to see that people in an area are able to consistently get about 40 people to a regional gathering, about 40 people for sure from their local area to come to an event. That starts letting us know that it's advantageous for us to make sure that's a national event, to put the weight of the AFA behind it, and to make sure that happens and bring people from outside the region as well. So that's kind of the number that right now we look at to see if that makes sense. Also, we try to schedule it and make sure it doesn't conflict with other national events, and to make sure we've got some really, really good folks in the area, some good boots on the ground that can run it, and make sure it goes over really well and are consistent. So those are the things we look at for when we're going to host a national event. This year, for the first time, we celebrated Charming of the Plow in Washington State as a national event, because those folks had held it as a local event for a couple of years, been very successful at it. They've had some really committed people up there, shown they could do something great with it. So we decided this year to make it a national event to see what happened, and it turned out wonderfully. The next question is, how is it determined, where and how we go about the next hof? And that's a little bit, there's more factors to consider on that. And there's a lot of things. And here's some of them. We want to make sure that our hofs are well taken care of. And we want to make sure that our hofs are in a place to where we're going to have a lot of AFA members attending them. We don't just want an empty building somewhere. We want a building that's full of our folk. So one thing we look for is that there's a substantial amount of members within a couple of hours driving distance of a prospective hof location. Another huge factor, a very important factor, is that we've got consistent leadership there that are going to stick around, that are going to be able to put in all of the work. Because these hofs, to make them function, to make them, even get them ready to function, is a huge undertaking and much bigger than most people really understand until you've been there and done it. So we want to make sure we've got solid people who can do that and take care of it. I also, it's important to me that we have an ordained Gothi or Githia in the area near the Hof that's going to be able to come there um, to sanctify events and rites and be there to lead that Hof. So that's really important as well. And then comes some more, just practical things. Are we able to find a building there for a price that we can afford at the time? Is that something we're able to do? Now, this next Hof, and a lot of these Hofs can go wherever we find something that meets the factors I just mentioned in a suitable way. This next Hof is going to honor Njord. And to honor Njord, we really want this next Hof to be as close as we can to a navigable body of water. So we're looking at areas near the coast, perhaps near the Great Lakes, maybe even to highly navigable river. But those are things we're looking at. And again, I understand that getting, waterfront property may be outside of what we can do, but we'd like to get something close because we think that honors Njord the best. But most of our Hofs kind of go wherever we've got the folk and wherever we've got the leadership in place to try to make them thrive and be successful. And I hope that answers your questions. If it doesn't, anybody hearing this, please ask questions on the side. And Roy, if there's additional questions, or if you want me to go in depth on any part of this more, please go ahead and send me another email. And thank you for sending that in. All right, let me see what's been going on while I've been talking here. Okay. Jason asks, how do we differentiate the term Aryan from being a branch of our ancestry to parties who insist that it's exclusively being a political neo-Nazi and World War II term instead? We can't concern ourselves constantly with what other detractors are going to do or going to think. The term Aryan is an ancient term. It absolutely refers to the most ancient of our race and our people. It refers to those people as they migrate to different parts of the world. It's an ancient word. It's a beautiful word, and it means shining with nobility. It's thousands of years old. We're always going to have people that their most common association with it is the Second World War and politics surrounding that. People are going to do what they're going to do. We need to just know what we're talking about, know where we're coming from. If we're asked, tell folks. And if we're not, just be proud of who we are and what we're doing. I don't really think there's, some ad campaign we can do to make people see the word differently. It's kind of beyond our power to affect what the detractors decide they want to be irritated about. And honestly, most of them just want to be irritated, unfortunately. Ryan suggests that we use, a different form of Aryan, that we use Arios. There's a number of words derived from the same root. You can do that if it makes it easier. Again, choose words that you use in the right context. Don't just go use words that you know are going to irritate everyone for the sake of irritation. We want to communicate and want to communicate clearly. One of the reasons that I don't alter the form to Arios and I use Aryan is because even if they pretend they don't know what it means, a lot of people do know what it means. And it has a context and it has a value. And the more we use it differently or different variations, the more diffused that value gets. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not something I do. I think we know what the word means, and I use it in that context. Sorry, guys, I'm just reading over here on the side. Want to make sure I don't miss anything. We have a lot of other suggestions of alternative words we can use. Again, I go back to what I just said. I think the more we change it up and use 100 different things to mean the same thing, it takes a lot of power out of what we're saying, and it causes more confusion than it needs to. And that's why I try to keep it succinct. But you've got to use what word you think is going to communicate best to your audience and what's going to work well for the situation. A lot of those terms I don't think are wrong. They're just not what I happen to use. Okay, we got a question about the individual hofs having their own finances. I'm glad that you mentioned that. Yes and no. The AFAs, it's important to keep those monies loose enough to where we can use them if there's an emergency or a need in different contexts. But in general, yes, each of our hofs have their own account so that we can track money in and out of them. I know some of you guys have targeted donations that you'd really like to see to go to your local hof or a local hof that you want to support. And we make sure those go directly into those hof accounts. And then we give enough money out of the general fund every month to keep those hofs afloat. So those do have their own accounts. And in that instance, that's a combination of a decision made with between myself, the Whitten. Sometimes we talk to the hof, certainly the hof manager, and the Gothar in that region are the ones that make ultimate decisions as far as hof finances and how that works. But our hof managers are the ones that deal with the hof finances on the day to day. But yeah, it's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up. I've got some questions on the side about how to communicate with our membership. As you all know, since Facebook has chosen to persecute us and remove us from their platform, it's been harder to communicate with our membership. Doing the best we can on various social media. We've got some Telegram channels going. We have a Twitter account. We have VK that we use regularly. VK is a really nice platform. It's just unfortunately a lot of you guys aren't there. A lot of our folk aren't there. But it's nice. It's an interface that we're all used to. It's kind of the closest alternative to Facebook we have. So we try to get the message out that way. We have some folks on the side suggesting that we do more emailing, and we can certainly do that as well. I think all of the above approach is probably our best bet. Unfortunately, traditionally, our emails that go out often, too often, they wind up in people's spam folders. They don't get responses. We've seen over time that email is probably the least efficient way to communicate information to our membership. So while we do need to increase that and make sure we're sending out emails, we also do on social media, and it would be extremely helpful if our members can check in regularly with their local folk builders to make sure that they know what's going on. If members are asking and if folk builders are sharing and if everybody's working from their angle to get it done, I think we'll have the best communication, but we're always working on something better. Right now we have Cliff Erickson working behind the scenes to get us some sort of a forum situation created or a better situation for us to communicate beyond all of these external social media platforms. So we're working on that. We'll certainly let you guys know when that's available. Ryan, thank you for sharing that story with us. I think that's a really beautiful thing, and I'm excited that your friend wants to be House of True now. We got folks over on the side advocating for Florida as a possible home for our next Hof. That's certainly on the short list. We would love to see a Hof in Florida. If you're in Florida and you want to make that happen, get in touch with your local folk builder. If you are a folk builder in Florida and you want to make that happen, start letting us know on the back end, start helping us look for property. But right now, one of the biggest things on when and if, or not if, but when and where we get our next Hof has to do with getting our finances in order and being in a position not only to purchase the Hof, but to take care of it. And we're working on that on the back end. You guys have been very generous. That situation is improving. We're going to run some numbers come midsummer. That's kind of the beginning of our AFA business year, and figure out where we're at and what steps we need to take to get to that next level to where we can go ahead and make Njord's Hof a reality. But for folks who want to see that happen in Florida, it's certainly on a list of very few places that it's near the top of where we'd love to see that. So you guys got decent odds. Help me find a spot and help build up your area and make it a shining example of where the next big thing for the AFA is going to be. Okay. Also, Jason asks on the side, how often, important, and advantageous do I feel volunteering with other charities / 501c3s are to the representation and reputation of the House True Folk Assembly and individuals doing volunteering? I think context is everything on these things. It really depends on the circumstance. I think us working and teaming up with other charities and other 501c3s is fantastic, as long as they're in keeping with our values. Building those relationships in communities is really important. What we've found, certainly at Odenshof, as far as working with other charities, if you want to get involved in local charity, often it's its own society to where all the different most of the different charities that are successful in an area interact with each other. I think that interface and the interacting is really important. I want to see us, where we have Hofs, focus on our charity and our 501c for distribution of resources for doing charitable work, because I think it brings the best fame and the best name to the House True Folk Assembly and honors our church and our gods that way. But it all depends on the situation. If you're not near a Hof, you and other AFA members, when there's a few of you putting forward your effort towards other charitable works run by other organizations, I think is a great way to be, a productive and helpful member of your community. When you're near a Hof, going all in, making sure that the charities that Hof is operating and working to do, like the food distributions, that's huge. And we would love to see that. And the more we keep that in-house and do that by the AFA, from the AFA, I think that's the most advantageous. But again, all this depends on your scenario. As long as you're helping out and doing good things for people, good things for your community, and ultimately good things for our folk, I think all of that's a net positive and raises our reputation and accomplishes good things in the world. So I'd love to see all of our people do charitable work. Okay, Cameron's asking a question or making a suggestion rather of having a special AFA ordained rune caster for doing therapy needs for members across a distance, because you can use runes in a visual way over Zoom or another medium that way. You can. Right now, our Gothar are capable and qualified to do some of that. Getting asked to do rune castings is not a it's not a frequent thing that our Gothar are asked to do, but it's certainly something that they are trained to do some of, and they'd be happy to do that in situations. I think everybody's got a little bit different method of how they do it. Sometimes proximity and knowing somebody, or even some sort of physical contact is important in that. To other people, not as much. But yeah, and if Cameron, if you or somebody has the need of someone to do rune casting for you, please do reach out to your local Gothi. They can figure that out for you and help you with it. And whatever other resources that they need, they can certainly contact me or other of our Gothar who would love to help with that. But yeah, that's something available to you right now if you want to ask them for help with it. Sorry, guys. Every now and again, it goes quiet because I'm trying to read over here, and I don't really know a right way around that of having the dead ear, because I got to look on the side and read for your questions, especially when I get a little bit long-winded there. Well, Seamus, we're glad to have you here live. Help me know a little bit more about what you're asking. You're from Edmonton in Alberta, Canada, and you're asking, you want to get involved. You want to know what kind of stuff we have out here that I can speak on. What exactly are you asking about? Are you trying to get connected with membership? Are you looking for events in your area, or just what are you looking for? We would love to see more activity in Canada. Since all of the COVID lockdowns and things, our activity in Canada has certainly slowed, as it has in a lot of places in the world, unfortunately. As some of that's loosening back up, we're having more things happen. Our biggest group of Canadian AFA members is in British Columbia, and believe they're doing things. We can certainly get you connected with those guys. We have some folks over in Ontario. We do have relatively few people in Alberta, but we'd love to fix that, and we'd love to watch that grow. And we hope that you'll help be a part of that growing. But if you reach out to your local folk builder, if you are in Alberta, couple of options. I would suggest you reach out to Lucas Houston, who is our second newest. We've had a couple of folk builders join us this month. We had Lucas Houston in Idaho joining, and he's going to be the closest one to you, and he'd love to help you. lhouston@runestone.org. We can post that address over in the side, and Lucas would love to help you out. And then the other folk builder, not relevant to your question, but the other folk builder that joined us this month is Andreas Svensson in Sweden. And we're very excited about that. I had the opportunity to meet Andreas. Great guy, and we're really glad to have him with us. Got a lot of discussion going on in the side chat. It's nice to see. Everybody out there, if you got questions, please do ask. Please feel free to ask anything you like. I'm an open book, and I really want to be able to, nothing's also off limits, and I want to have an open door to talk to you guys about any questions you might have. So please don't feel uncomfortable asking anything that you'd like. Okay. Josh is asking, he says he would like to eventually become a Gothi, and he wants to know how to get started on that road. Recently, as of this last year, it's become a requirement that anybody wanting to train to be ordained as a Gothi in the True Folk Assembly has to first become a folk builder and be successful and oathed in at that. And we think that's going to be a really good thing for the future of the AFA. And a couple of thoughts on that. And this isn't to address your question. Your question is what steps you need to take to do that. If that's something you'd like to do eventually, I would suggest you talk to the folk builders and the Gothar in your region and build a relationship with them and start helping out. If once you do that, and once you're familiar with what folk building is and how that works, you would need to apply to be an apprentice folk builder, or to reach out to me rather about wanting to be an apprentice folk builder. And you need to spend some time doing folk building and eventually take your folk builder oath. Once you're an oath folk builder, then you'll have the opportunity to apply for the Gothar program if it's something you want to pursue. But what I wanted to say while we're on it is why we have that requirement that you be a folk builder before you become a Gothi. A lot of times when people start out, and I don't mean to criticize it, because I think we all start out there, and people are ambitious, and a lot of times people do focus on themselves. People want to be a Gothi for personal reasons. They want to be a Gothi for their own spiritual development, or to lead something with a local group of friends that they might have, or for those things. From the AFA's perspective, our interest in Gothar is not for their own personal advancement or for spiritual development of the individual. We want AFA Gothis that are interested in building the AFA, representing the True Folk Assembly to our membership and to our gods. So we're focused on what the Gothar can do for the AFA, and not how we can help individuals become Gothis. So the shift is a little bit different there in what maybe some people who apply and say they want to, immediately be a Gothi is. And I'm not suggesting that has anything to do with your question, Josh. Please don't take it that way. What we've found, and I'm very excited about, is people who put in the work, sometimes the unglamorous work of being a folk builder and of spending that time taking care of the needs of our membership, getting to know the local members in their area, getting to know and interact with the leaders in the True Folk Assembly, and really taking that time to be part of their community and be involved. They do a much better job when they're a Gothi, because they're already a leader in our church. They're already taking care of our members, and so they're in a position to be successful as a Gothi. So we're excited to see that. But yeah, those are the steps that you would take. Okay. Canon asks, is hell evil? And he has trouble getting a straight answer on that. I don't blame you. No. Straight answer. I don't believe that hell is evil. I understand that there's a hesitation to involve hell in your worship practice. I think there's a certain gray area there, and there's a certain nebulousness on that. I think we see, an honorable treatment of Balder in our lore when he is in hell's domain. I don't think that it's inappropriate to respectfully interact with hell in a worshipful, or I don't even know if that's the right term, in a respectful way interacting, or making an offering, or speaking to in that way. I think I believe that hell is a deity that we should deal with cautiously and carefully. I think anytime we allow that energy into our lives, it needs to be in a controlled and a very well thought out way. Just very literally, you don't want to welcome death into what you're doing unless it's for a very specific reason and it's done in a very respectful way. But I'm not one that thinks that hell is evil or shouldn't be interacted with. That's not where I'm coming from or where the AFA is coming from. That's I hope that's a straight enough answer, and I hope that helps. I'm sorry, I'm digging through the conversation on the end. You guys got a very rich conversation going on there. Food pantry thing is a great thing for everybody. I'm so proud and so excited that the AFA has been involved in distributing food from Odenshof for over 2 years now. I'm very excited. We're going to be getting up food distributions at Thorshof and Baldershof imminently. We've got our Hof managers in those areas getting that all set up and arranged right now. It's such a good thing to be able to. There's so many. Sometimes we get caught up in our head or caught up in planning. Yes, it's really good for our reputation. Yes, it makes us look good. Yes, it's great public relations. Yes, it's all those things. But fundamentally, it's really nice to be able to help people. And it really feels good to be able to be part of the community in a helpful way that's building people up, taking care of people, making sure hungry people eat. And it's nice for them. And I think it really helps out in the community, but also it's nice for us. I've said this before, but so often we can get bogged down in the stresses of the world around us and all the things that we wish we had some hand in making better, and we feel helpless to do something about, all the things that we can't control and we just want to complain about or fuss about. It's really special to have an opportunity to where we as an AFA family can make something better. We can make somebody, their day, their family's day better by a little bit of charity work. And that's a really good feeling. And I'm really proud that I've been able to be there and experience and do some of that. I'm really happy that our members have been able to do that. And I'm excited that we as the AFA are making the world a better place. So I think the charity stuff's really great. We are joined again by my beautiful daughter, Aubrey. And she's awesome. Since last time that I talked to you, she is now 1 year old. And she's an amazing little girl. And she's about to have 2 top teeth. Well, we got the camera. You're only seeing half of her head, and that's weird. But she's about to have 2 top teeth. She's got 3 bottom teeth. And she is wonderful. And I'm so very, very fortunate to have this beautiful little baby girl with me. But, yep. Can you say hi? Can you wave? You can. Oh. She can see herself over this direction. Can you wave? There we go. Yay. All right. Thank you, Ubs. Good night. Oh. All right, guys. Thank you for indulging me there for a second. Colton, I'm sorry I'm unfamiliar with what the NJP is. I'm not sure what that stands for. Megan asks, are there any plans for, or is it possible to have vegetable gardens at hofs? Absolutely, it's possible. What we've found, though, is we need dedicated people to come and take care of gardens. So if we want to have a garden growing at the hof, we need folks that are there regularly to weed it, to take care of it, to water it, to do the work that's necessary to take care of a garden there. Sounds like a really good idea in the abstract, but if we only have, people there a few times a month, it's not really a doable thing. If you or folks in your area are close to a local hof and you guys want to be there and want to grow vegetables and want to get some of that going, I think we can certainly do planter boxes. We can do a lot of stuff to start making that happen. And yeah, we'd love to see that. We'd love to have growing things and grow food at our hofs. It just takes some people that are going to have the time and the availability and the proximity to the hof to make those gardens thrive and be successful. Yeah, we'd love to see that. Seamus, not to worry. You're asking if there's stuff you can get involved in the Edmonton area. Stuff that's already going on for you to get involved in? No. If you want to start something to get involved in, we would love to help you be successful at that. We would love to help you gather people in your area and get together and get the ball rolling. And I'd suggest you reach out to Lucas, reach out to me personally. We'd love to see you be successful at that. So please do reach out, and we'd like to make that happen. Unfortunately, as of now, we don't have, big things going on in Alberta, Canada, but we would love to see that happen, and we'd love to help make that happen. Yeah, Colton, I'm sorry. I'm just not very familiar with, but thank you for telling me the National Justice Party. I'm not very familiar with that organization or their platform or anything about them. This is the first time I'm hearing about them. Apparently, we've already got some raspberries growing at Baldershof. I was unaware of that. That's awesome. Raspberries are great. Like to give a plug out there. Anybody who can make it to our Wisconsin event this weekend, I'd love to see you there. I'm looking forward to being there, to seeing all my family in Wisconsin. Going to have a great event there honoring the folk mother Elsie Christensen. If you can make it out to that, like I say, I'd love to see you there. And a little bit further out at Midsummer, we would love to see you at Odenshof in Brownsville, California. If you can make your plans now, get in touch with folk builders there, get in touch with Crystal over on the side. She's talking about it. We'd love to have everybody at Midsummer. It's our biggest event of the year. It's kind of our flagship AFA event. Last year, we had a record number of people there. We had 142 folks at Midsummer last year. So we tend to have a good turnout there, and we would love to host you guys at Odenshof to show you our hof, show you your hof, and to have you be out there and experience it with us. So I invite you all, if you can come out to Midsummer at Odenshof, please do. Please think about it. Yes, as far as accommodations for Midsummer, Githia Sheila McNallen was compiling a list of those. If you contact Sheila, Sheila at runestone.org, or if you get message to her over on the side here, she is putting together a list of places to stay where people can lodge if they're coming in from out of town to celebrate Midsummer with us at Odenshof. Oh yeah, those of you who've been to Odenshof but may have missed it earlier this year. The parcel of property right next to Odenshof, we've acquired that over this last year. It's a beautiful, beautiful section of land there. It adds a lot to the property. Odenshof's in this little town of Brownsville, but it feels like we're in the middle of nowhere camping or something. It's beautiful. It's wooded, amazing, huge trees out there, redwoods, beautiful stuff. It's a really nice place. And we've just, increased that property again, probably by about a third since last time you've been out there. So I'm eager to show that off to you guys as well if you come out. All right, Jason, I'm going to hold you to that. You heard it here, folks. Baldershof is planning on doing their first food distribution on May the 29th. So I'm very eager to see how that goes. I'm very happy to do whatever I can on my end to help make that happen. And anybody in the area, I'm sure they would really appreciate you volunteering to help out. But yeah, Gothi Plurd is heading up, getting that established and getting that going. So good job, Jason, and I'm excited to see it. Sorry, guys, I'm catching up over on the side. There's a lot of talk going on. Um, and I appreciate that. I'm glad you guys are having a good discussion there. Good, Mary. I'm glad I cleared that up. Mary was asking earlier about an alternative to VK and to our Telegram groups that are kind of sloppy. It's just the nature of Telegram. It's a running, ongoing conversation. A lot of our people will check in maybe in the morning, and then by the time they check back in the evening, there's 500 messages to sort through. It's unfortunate. It's just the nature of that platform. But like I said earlier, Cliff Erickson is working hard on the back end to make something better happen for us. That's a very good suggestion on the side. Everybody's all excited about growing their own produce, growing their own stuff. The suggestion is that kindreds in the area can grow their own produce and bring it to supply the Hof with it. And I'm sure every one of our Hofs would love to see that happen. We do have people that from time to time bring things from their own gardens or from their own properties. If they have orchards or whatever they have going on, they bring those out to Odenshof and we use that as part of the meal. I know that a lot of the time we have folks in kindreds that share the things that they grow or animals that they raise with the rest of us, or game that they hunt. Certainly that's a big thing up in Alaska. Those folks, when they hunt and fish, share that with the kindred. So yeah, any kindreds who want to help supply the Hof with groceries that you produce, absolutely, I'm sure that they would love it, and that'd be a really cool thing for you guys to do. Okay, we got a question. When donating to the AFA, should one donate directly to their local HOF or to the general fund? Yes, both. Obviously, any donation to any of the hofs or to the general fund is much appreciated. They're all going to go to building this AFA family and doing great things with it. It depends. General fund money is much more flexible for us to put on different ones of these projects, including very often the general fund goes into supporting projects at the individual hofs. There's no wrong answer to that question, but wherever you feel compelled to give, if you want to give it to us generally to spend where we think it's the most effective, or if you really want to see it go into your local HOF, maybe you have a close association with that place. Maybe you have a close desire to spend that on the temple to one of our particular gods. So that's going to be up to you, but thank you. And any of those sources you want to give it to, it's going to go someplace good and it's going to accomplish our mission. So Rose, what I would suggest as far as, so we got a question on the side, member lives in the Northeast and wants to see more things happen there. Not just moots, but other big stuff happen there. I wish there was a magical, like, boom, do this and everything will explode and it'll blow up overnight. And there's not. But what you need to do is be involved. Be involved with your local community, be involved with your local folk builders, be involved with the Gothar in your area, and build that region. Make sure it's consistent, has folks that get together. If there's moots, do you go to those moots? If there's not moots close to you, do you want to host one close to you and get support on doing that? What can we do to make something build? Because it really does start with those small things. Maybe the moot is a pub moot. Maybe it's at a park. Maybe it's a hike. Maybe it's bowling. Whatever you'd like to do, getting folks together. If you know members that should be part of the AFA that aren't, why aren't they? Get them to join. Get them to be part of what we're doing. The more that you grow a healthy membership in your area and the more involved you are in that membership, the bigger and better things will happen there. I would love to see really great things happen in the Northeast. We've got a ton of members over there. Getting them to come out and be involved and do things together is a harder prospect. So be part of making that happen. And however you can do that, I think that's your best bet on getting something to happen in your area. Lucas is asking a question on the side. Mentions that a large part of his family are Spaniards. And the rest are another large part of his family are Italians and Frenchmen. And he wants to know if he can be part of this faith. Absolutely. We are pan-Aryan. We are pan-European. We believe that Asatru is the expression of that Aryan religiosity of all of our folk that's common. Yes, Asatru tends to be a Germanic expression of that, but we welcome Italians, Spaniards, and Frenchmen in our family, absolutely. And we would love to have you join up and be part of what we're doing. We believe that the indigenous folks of Europe are part of one big family that way. And we'd love to see that family come together. Also, Githya Shapansky is mentioning over in the side that Baldershof is looking at doing special days there for canning and preserving all the great things that folks grow there. So that's something to look into too. If you're close to Baldershof and you have an interest in that, that's something they've been talking about doing there. Roy's mentioning on the side that it's a shame we're all so spread out and so separated. And yes and no. It's really easy to think that way. I think that way too often. Like, man, if the AFA were all in one town or, one county somewhere, we would be a force to be reckoned with. We could fill space. We could do so much stuff with all of us together. And I'd love that. And that offers a lot of its own benefits, and it's easy to see those. But what is really cool, and I've said this before, the sun never sets on the True Folk Assembly. We've got members in both hemispheres. We've got members in Europe and South Africa, in Australia, New Zealand, member in South America. We have members so many different places, and being spread out, we have seeds in all these different places to watch things grow. Now we're growing and we're doing great things, but we have so much room to grow. There's so many of our people still yet to come home that we have potential everywhere we've got AFA members to plant that seed and make something grow. The other advantage of how many places that we have members, not only how many places we have members, but how many places we have groups of members, is when you're part of the AFA, you're part of a family that's all over the place. I know you get different parts of the world that's more spread out, but certainly here in the United States, pretty much anywhere you find yourself, you're within a few hours of family. That means you have people that will help you out. You got a place to stay very often. You've got people that can help you if times are rough, or you've just got people you can visit if you're passing through, if you're traveling, if you want to celebrate our holy days and you find yourself away from home. You have family wherever you go when you're with the AFA. And it's not just a theory, it's real. We have members that do it very often. Our leadership certainly do it. I would encourage everyone who's part of the AFA, reach out to people when you go places, reach out to their local folk builders to get you connected with folks, make those connections if and when you travel so that you are part of the bigger AFA family that we have, because it's a really important resource that comes from us being as spread out as we are. Einar, we do have members applying every so often from Ontario. Like I said, a lot of activity slowed way down in Canada during, the COVID times, but we want to see that kick back up. And Ontario is a very attractive area with a lot of interest for the AFA. So we do have things growing there slowly, but they are growing. Sorry, guys, I'm catching up in the chat over on the side here, making sure I'm trying to make sure I'm answering everybody. If there's somebody who's asked something I haven't gotten to you, please ask again, and I'll try to get to you. I know we've come up on an hour here. Probably not gonna go too much longer, but if you guys have questions you want to get in, please ask them over on the side, and I'll try to make sure I get to them. It's been a little bit different tonight because you guys are having so much of a robust conversation on the side, and I'm trying to sort through it. Something else to look out for at Baldershof that Gothi Plurt is pointing out. We have some members that have had problems with with addiction issues. So there is a sobriety group that we're going to try to test out at Baldershof and see how that works. It's going to be ran by some of our members who've had that experience and come to the other side of it and want to help those of our membership or others that that may be struggling with that, or that may be in a constant struggle to try to stay on the right side of that. So if you're in the area, if you want to help out, or if you're somebody who's struggling with addiction, we'd love to help. The folks at Baldershof are going to have some meetings to try to get folks together and be supportive on that. So we'd encourage you to reach out to Gothi Plurd, Githya Shapansky. They can get you set up with times and availability on that. And like I say, we'd certainly love to help with that. And hopefully this is going to be a nice project that's able to help some folks out. All right, guys. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to discuss this evening, or that they'd like to hear me talk about? I appreciate you guys joining. I appreciate so much enthusiasm on the side tonight. It's been great. Thank you to everybody who's asked questions. Like I say, let's give it a few more seconds over here to see if anybody wants to slide any more questions in, and then I will talk to y'all next month. Folk builder James Allen says, hey, Ontario people, please reach out to him. He is very interested in getting that going and making sure Ontario is successful. I'm sorry, James Alt is excited about getting Ontario successful. J Alt, AULT, at runestone.org. He'd love to help you out. I know, James. I'm sorry. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I appreciate you guys. It's great to talk to you. I look forward to it every month. Please join me again next month. We'll have this conversation again. Any questions, feel free to email me. Feel free to pre-populate them in the side chat once I have next month's chat scheduled. And yeah, thank you guys so much. Hope you guys are all doing well, and we'll talk to you guys again next time. Hail the gods, hail the folk, hail the AFA.